please rise for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence following the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to call a meeting to order and ask for a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The agenda is approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 9th, 2014, the regular school board meeting.
Make a motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. Section 4 of the recognition section, we have John Bost, semifinalist in the 2015 National Merit Scholarship Program. Mr. Carter.
The National Merit Scholarship Corporation has announced the names of approximately 16,000 semifinalists in the 60th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. John Bost, a senior at Thomas Walker High School, was named as one of those semifinalists. These academically talented high school seniors have an opportunity to continue in the competition for some 7,600 National Merit Scholarships worth about $33 million that will be offered this coming spring. So we would like to congratulate John Boss, the senior at Thomas Walker High School.
Item B, Webster's Dictionary for Students, the Sonic Lodge. Mr. Thomas Ellis.
Mr. Carter, school board members, my name is Thomas Ellis from Miles Lodge, Painting Gap, Virginia. This year, Miles Lodge took the endeavor of doing a dictionary program. It's called the Gift of Knowledge, and we really look forward to helping young kids and students. And in doing this, we found a great dictionary. It's a Webster's Dictionary for Students. It's geared toward the third graders. And we just felt that this would be a great design aid for the teachers to help the students become confident writers, readers, and just excel. So we took upon this project. We reached out to the other Masonic lodges in Lee County, asking for their help and time and donations. And we raised the money to get these for every third grader in Lee County. And tonight, we would like to present those to the school board, the Lee County school system. And they will be sent out this week. Brother John Muncie will go around to each school and give these out as the number of third graders in that school. The lodges that participated, Miles Lodge of Painting Gap, Dryden Lodge of Dryden, Martin Station Lodge of Rose Hill, Wynn Lodge of Rose Hill, Blackwater Lodge of Blackwater, and Preston Lodge here in Jonesville. These are represented tonight. First is Renfro Howard of Dryden Lodge, John Muncie, Preston Lodge of Jonesville, Billy Willis from Wynn Lodge, Rose Hill, Danny Lowe from Blackwater Lodge, and Brother Kyle Chadwell is standing in for the member from Martin Station. He could not be here tonight. But it is an honor that we can do this. It's an honor to stand with these men that we worked hard to get these, and we are very pleased to present these to the school system.
Thank you, sir. We certainly are appreciative of that. You want
I just was wondering if Willie knows how to get to the schools.
I'll make it. I'll get my brother to help me.
Is there a way that we could get a picture with you all?
Sure.
Yes.
one win.
Is that on the camera?
I'll get it.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of those.
You want to go down front?
We do have a couple of elementary principals here, Lisa Willis and Laura Lawson, that have third grades in their school as well, so. Renee Clark, I'm sorry. They want us to sit down.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Laura, Renee.
How you want to do the picture? Jump in there and take it.
No, we don't get all this in here if you can.
We can get everybody. Billy? Billy, we can get everybody.
Move up front with me and we'll get removing some of them here. Tommy in the back here. I started up with short. Get the short ones up here.
I see what you're doing.
Get up here, David. Put the women in front.
Hey, now wait a minute.
Women in front. Women in front.
Let's see, where you at?
I got her back knee.
I think he did that on purpose.
I'm in the back row, David.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wanda Wayne. Thank you.
Go ahead and have it. We might need it.
How are you, Mark? Doing okay, thank you.
Item C, schools with the highest percentage of attendance, Mr. Carter.
We do have a couple of newcomers to the awards for the highest percentage of attendance this year. Pennington Middle School comes in first for the highest percentage of attendance for the month of September at 93.822%. Mr. Hounshell is here, so congratulations, Mr. Hounshell. We get to pass the trophy off to you for a month that you get to keep, and hopefully you can work hard and get to keep that. Second place is Elk Knob Elementary. They came in at 93.819, a very close second place. So congratulations to those two schools. And I'll let you get the trophy before you leave tonight. Mr. Hounshell, take it with you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Section 5, the public expression portion of the agenda, Mr. Hensley.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Phil Hensley.
Representing the town of Pennington Gap, I have with me Mr. Tom Phillips, commander of the VFW post at Pennington Gap. Mr. Phillips has approached town council and requested to do a veterans memorial, which would be a flag and a monument somewhere in town of Pennington Gap. One of the sites that they are considering is beside the caboose at Pennington Middle School. I told him we can't give that permission, that is school board. What he's requesting is permission to look at it and consider a design at that site or other sites in town. If that's the site they go with, they will bring the design back to the board for an approval at a later date. This would be just a permission to start a design phase. Mr. Phillips.
All right. Yeah, as everybody knows here, I'm coordinator of the Pennington Gap Veterans Day Parade out there also. And I kind of work pretty hard for the veterans in this county, and I think the veterans need to be recognized in every town, every little community in Lee County, and it's my job to try to make sure that it gets done, and I thank the world of these veterans, and I love that American flag there. Anything you folks can help us out with, we would be greatly appreciated. And I have also got set aside at my post about that $5,000 to get started on this project if and when it gets approved. And like I say, anything y'all do to help us out would be greatly appreciated.
Tom, the design and everything, the flagpole, and do you have any idea how much, when you're talking about the plot of land, how much you would need?
Well, not exactly.
Ballpark?
No, we've looked at some designs there already, and I have some pictures, but we've not really decided on anything yet. But I would say no more than 100 feet by 50 feet around the caboose there. And that would be right along Veterans Highway. Of course, in Pennington, that's not Veterans Highway, but just before that, it is. So that would be an awful nice place for it. Veterans Park along Veterans Highway, that couldn't beat that.
Anybody else? Gang?
Just, are you investigating any other sites besides the Pennington Middle School property?
Yes, ma'am, we've looked at Lehman Field. We've also kind of looked at spots out there in the middle of Pennington and also behind the theater there in the parking lot. We've not really decided on anything, and neither is the town of Pennington, except they agreed to help us with this project.
The other sites are town property, and council can act on those. In the case of this site that they were looking at, it was school board property. And I told the VFW that we would have to contact the school board for your permission to proceed.
Well, one other thing that Phil brought to my attention there was the caboose out there is really not being used for anything. And maybe if we build some kind of monument out there or something, we could put some pictures and stuff of our war veterans, maybe some mementos in there, and bring that caboose back alive too. And anything we do out there is going to, if that's decided on, it's going to improve the property regardless of what it is. And those things are awful nice and awful pretty, no matter what you put them on. And people really respect them too. They leave them alone. They don't vandalize them or anything. They're nice to have. And the veterans really appreciate it too when something comes along like this.
Anybody else got any?
Yeah, I need
Go ahead.
to mention there, I'm all for this, number one. That sounds great. The question that I really have is one that popped up before, and I don't remember whether it was over this exact same thing or not, and that is, how tall is this thing going to be, and will it bother the sign there that they advertise the school athletic events and graduation and all on? Do you have any idea what we're talking about now?
No, sir, that's one of the things we talked about today, Phil and I, that we didn't want anything that was going to block the view of the school or anything else out there.
Well, blocking the view there is pretty well blocked anyway. I don't think that will harm anything, and I'm certainly for you coming out there and let's look at this thing and see if we can get it there. I think it'd be a good place for it.
All right, I appreciate you, Mr. Williams.
I don't think anybody up here opposes you. to go to work and see what you can come up with and then come back to us, you know, before final approval of it. Anybody got any objections to that? Okay,
All right, appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
thank you, Tom. Anybody else with public expression? Hearing none, we'll close that part of the agenda. In the report section, under A, the honorary Marine ceremony for Jacob Sprinkle. Mr. Carter.
Tomorrow evening, Wednesday, October the 15th, in the C. Bascom Sump Auditorium at Lee High School, there will be a ceremony to posthumously name Jacob Tyler Sprinkle as an honorary Marine. This is a rare and a special ceremony to honor a young man who courageously and continually fought and lost a long, hard battle with numerous health issues. The public is invited to attend, and certainly all board members will be invited to attend that event tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Item B, the 21st Annual Military Inspection for the Junior ROTC.
The Navy Junior Reserve Officers will have their 21st Annual Military Inspection for this school year on Friday, October the 17th at Lee High School in the gymnasium, with the ceremony beginning at 9:30. And of course, they ask that you be in the gym. The gym will open at 9:15. They ask that you actually be in your seats at 9:30. The board is certainly invited to attend that, and certainly anyone in the public. So just want to make you aware of that.
Mr. Carter, if you will, item D, the Veterans Day.
We just want to remind everyone of Veterans Day on November the 11th, and the fact that it is intended to honor and to thank all military personnel who served in the United States in all wars, particularly living veterans. And we'll certainly be asking all of our schools. We will be in school on Veterans Day, and we'll be asking all of our schools to hold programs and ceremonies to honor our veterans.
And now item D, the National School Lunch Week.
This week is National School Lunch Week, the week of October 13th through the 17th. The theme for this year is Get in the Game with School Lunch, and we would like to invite board members to stop by and visit the schools and have lunch this week.
Item E, the Security Equipment Grant awarded for Lee County Public Schools.
I'm just going to mention a little bit and ask Denise if she'll come up. She may can follow up with me and give a little more information on this. But the Virginia Department of Education has awarded the school security grants, and Lee County Schools has been awarded a total of $41,564 for this. And then we have 4 schools that was awarded, and that's Dale, Jonesville, Lehigh, and Pennington Middle. And Denise, I'll let you expound a little bit.
I would just add, 9 of our schools applied for it. We applied for a total of $112,141. 4 schools were awarded the $41,564. We have to spend this money, or we have to have the equipment ordered by March 25th, 2015, and request reimbursement by June 30th. But we can reapply next year, the 2014. General Assembly authorized an additional $6 million grant for the 2015-2016 school year.
Any questions?
I have one. I just noticed on the first page of what we have, Denise, it says a local match of 25%. And then I read somewhere else that there was no match, so.
We don't. Because our composite index is below a certain level. We don't, and I think Scott County is the other county that didn't have to put in a local match.
Thank you. I kind of wondered.
Thank you.
Sure. Who's going to be going?
Actually, Denise did.
Any other questions? Covenant Mountain Mission Bible Camp, Mr. Carter.
You have a request from Covenant Mountain Mission Bible Camp, and I've actually placed it in here this time under reports, so it'll give you an opportunity to kind of look at it and be thinking about the request. It's not until the summer of 2015, 2016. And just want to make sure that we look at that and be thinking about it.
Okay, any questions? Enrollment, Mr. Carter?
Our enrollment as of the end of September was 3,145 students. That is down 3 students from last month and down 62 students from the same period last year.
Any questions, comments? Financial report. Denise, please.
This is a summary of our financial activity for the month of September. We received revenues totaling $3,187,827.87. For the year to date, we've received $7,990,300.79. As of September 30th, we've received 20.38% of our estimated revenues for the year, and at this time last year, we had received 19.4% of our revenues. Our expenditures for the month of September totaled $1,537,954.83. Our total for the year to date is $3,574,005.35. As of September 30th, we had used 9.15% of our appropriations for the year, and I cut off the same time last year. Sorry about that. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Under the action items, item A, consider the approval of the resolution for athletic officials. Mr. Carter.
Well, we have a draft resolution here for the board to consider. It will be the beginning of the competitive process for athletic officials, and actually our attorney's worked on this some. He may want to add something. I'm not sure, Lucas, if you do.
I'll be glad to answer any questions the board members may have about the resolution. The resolution is call on for the board to act. The board passes the resolution that will direct the superintendent to issue a request for proposals for those athletic officiating services. So I think the board members have in your packet a copy of that draft RFP, the request for proposals. Be glad to answer any questions about that, but the board need not take any action at this time on the RFP. That would be a matter for the superintendent to.
Is every other county doing the bid process like this for officials?
It's my understanding, I can't tell you that I've spoken to council or representative from every school district in the state, but at least in southwestern Virginia, it's my understanding that the city of Norton they had a pre-existing small purchase procedure, and they believe that they could use that. Everyone else is issuing requests for proposals to use under the Virginia Public Procurement Act, the competitive negotiation format. And that's exactly what this resolution directs the Lee County School System to do, and that's the nature of the RFP that we've drafted.
So we're simply following suit with what everybody else is doing?
What I would say 95% of the school districts in southwestern Virginia are doing, yes.
As far as I know, all schools in Region 7, with the exception of the city of Norton, are following this.
And I will tell you that is hearsay. That's what I've been told the city of Norton is doing. I haven't spoken to anyone to verify that.
Why all of a sudden, since we've been having officials for years, why all of a sudden this? Is that because of the split earlier?
There has been an announced competition, if you will, that there is at least one other entity who's indicated a willingness and desire to provide athletic officiating services for at least the sport of basketball. And the Public Procurement Act does allow public entities to award without bids where there is no competition, but now that we have been placed on knowledge that there is competition I think the safest route is to ask for bids on all activities. We'll see what we get, and that will provide the board with the basis of knowledge to know exactly what competition does exist, and then procure based upon that information.
Any other questions?
Do we
Yes,
do
Scott.
this for all other, go ahead. Do we do this for all other vendors that are, coming into our system, bidding various services to the school system and, the schools individually?
Certain services are required under the Public Procurement Act. I can't tell you whether, off the top of my head, I can't tell you what is exempt and what must go through the Procurement Act.
I just feel like we're opening up a can of worms here, and I think we're getting involved in something that the board as a whole has no business being in. I think the Virginia High School League and the principals and the athletic directors should handle this under their own guidelines. I mean, that's what they're hired to do. And I'm sure the officials associations have to act under the guidelines of the Virginia High School League, which the Virginia High School League is supposedly the principals' organization. So it seems to me that them as a separate entity from the school board can make their own terms pertaining to this, and we shouldn't have anything to do with it. That's my just personal opinion.
Well, I agree. I think we're picking up a problem that's not ours at all, and just something that I don't see where in the world the school board needs to be in this. I don't think the government knows how to run General Motors, and I don't think we ought to be able to run this. Of course, if we get it retroactive till last week and get Friday night's game played over again, go for that.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, the Public Procurement Act does require that because the school system is hiring, is paying officials at least for postseason competition, that is regular season competition. There is then a requirement that those services be procured in compliance.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Mr. Carter was just showing me that the principals used to be involved in athletic, the officials associations, but now they have withdrawn from that. But still, they still set the guidelines for the Virginia High School League. And so I would assume, like I said, I stated before, that any officials association should have to, follow all the guidelines that the Virginia High School League, puts in their handbook and go from there.
And one of the requirements of the draft RFP that's in your packages does require the successful proposer or offeror to comply with any VHSL requirements.
Is there a time limit for us to do this?
That's what I was going to ask.
I would, there's a time limit based upon the RFP. There is an announced competition for the services for basketball season. The first basketball season in the county, first basketball game in the county is, I believe, December 3rd. Under state law, you've got to post on your website for at least 10 days prior to the closure of the date for acceptance of any proposals. You've also got to have 10 days notice in the local newspaper at least 10 days prior, not the full RFP, but simply a notice of the issuance of the RFP. And from that point in time, the superintendent has to have time to review the proposals, study them, negotiate, meet with the offerors as he deems necessary, make a recommendation to the board. The board need to have time to consider that and award a contract or multiple contracts as it deemed fit.
Mr. Thomas, my understanding as well that we cannot submit or advertise for RFPs until the board approves a resolution authorizing us to do that. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I don't really feel good about jumping in on this thing here. I mean, to me, it's a little bit overkill. Mike, you want to say something?
I was just saying, I know we've talked about the schools in our district, have we contacted any of the larger districts that has more than one officials association and find out how they're, getting their officials in all their sports? And the reason I bring this up is because it used to be included in the bylaws for junior high school that when your association presented a group of officials, that you would have officials for every sport. And this new association that's coming in, from what I understand now, just does 2 sports. Or maybe 3, I think, softball, baseball, and basketball. And I just think, like the Richmond area, the Roanoke area, Northern Virginia, how they're doing this with their officials association.
No, Mr. Twig, I've not spoken to anyone outside of Southwest Virginia, and I wouldn't include Roanoke within that. I've spoken to representatives from, I guess, as far east as Smith County. Smith and Washington are basically either are going to issue or have issued substantially the same RFP as you have for you. Wise County, Scott County
Have already passed.
issued related RFPs. Dickinson County has as well. I'm not certain about Russell County and Buchanan County.
You're saying those 3 have already done this?
Yes. Well, they I don't know when their boards meet. They have done it or they are getting ready to. Washington, Smith, Wise County has issued, Scott County has issued, Dickinson, I'm almost positive, has issued, Smith and Washington, I'm simply not sure when those boards meet.
See, one of the things that I think here, there's 4 of us up here that have been a head coach. And I know I felt the same way, and I think if you get down, they would say to admit the same thing. And our location down here has a lot to do with how these coaches down here feel about officials. Why? Because the officials come from all the other sections up there, and where they're local to them, they're up to us. And I felt like the whole time that I coached that we got whatever was left, whatever they didn't want to send to another school, they sent to Pennington when I was there, or Lehigh, and even back to St. Charles when I was there. And I just think the coaches and the principal ought to have a say in this, and we should.
Well, the school board, though, is the ultimate employer of the officials, and that's why the Public Procurement Act's requirements are applicable here.
And I think we ought to get some input from our principals and the school board and go what they want to do.
So, and the RFP does allow Mr. Carter to use his discretion to consult with other folks in the central office to bring recommendations in.
It's not a binding resolution, is it? I mean, license resolution doesn't bind us to anything else. So
It
just gets us
the
in a position where we can do what we need to do.
Absolutely. The resolution only binds the school system. It essentially directs Mr. Carter as the superintendent to issue the RFP. Issuance of an RFP does not commit the school system to awarding any contract. No RFP does. This RFP clearly states, and any RFP that the school system issues should provide that should bids come back and for whatever reason be unsuitable, that they can all be rejected. So you're not committing to paying any certain sum of money to any certain group simply by issuing the RFP.
Let me ask you this. You said he can consult people in the central office. What about principals and ADs? I mean, they should have, to me, more input than central office staff. This is the schools that they're responsible for. I'm not saying central office staff couldn't do it, but the athletic directors and principals deal with them on a face-to-face basis, night in and night out.
Some principals and athletic directors, I understand, still have some involvement with at least one of the potential bidders. And there is some cause for concern in my mind that that fact alone could cause someone to suspect them of a violation of the Public Procurement Act. I think Mr. Carter will be very cautious in not consulting with any principal or athletic director who did have any involvement with any proposer or bidder, but there still could be that perception if he is allowed to do that.
Well, I don't feel good about it. You know, we get people in here officiating our games that teach and coach at schools that's in our district, and we sit back and can do nothing about it. I think principals and ADs, that should be the first people he goes to see.
This request for proposals asks each award to
I agree with
explain how they would avoid any conflict of interest. And so you'll have in writing, upon the issuance of the RFP, a detailed explanation, hopefully a detailed explanation, an explanation anyway, of how they would avoid conflicts.
I need a motion to
I
this.
have a motion that we table this until.
I'll second. I'll second. Have a motion and a second to table the resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's tabled.
Thank you.
Item B, consider approval of the VACOR's Workers' Compensation Panel of Physicians.
Mr. Chairman, each year the board is asked to approve VACORP's panel of physicians for workman's comp, and that's what we have before you and asking for approval.
Make a motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Consider approval of various 2014, 2015 Head Start plans. Is that one?
Good evening. I want you to know that this has been a compilation since, I think, 1st of June. So they finally got the book together and gave it to you in some order. So what we ask is that you adopt these or approve these plans as presented. However, there could still be some editing to take place, and I appreciate Ms. Jessie for pointing out some things to me. And it is like names, we have to wait until an official act is conducted again tonight to do that. So these are just clarifications, editing, names, and updates of dates.
Got a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Approval of the overnight field trips, Mr. Carter.
We have one request for an overnight field trip from Robert Skiba to attend or to travel to the Naval Air Station in Jacksonville, Florida.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. It is approved. Item E, consider approval of the supplemental appropriation request. Denise?
In your packet, you have a resolution for supplemental appropriation for the school security grant in the amount of $41,564, which doesn't require any matching funds.
Got a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is approved. Need a motion to pay the bills?
Yes.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Need a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Pay the bills.
This is for you to sign. Thank you.
Mr. Twig, anything?
Yes, sir, I do. You know, I have some concerns and some questions. I might even want to bring up some things for a motion. But, you know, been on the board now 3 years, and I keep hearing that, you know, we're under a school improvement plan, we're under a school improvement plan, we're under a school improvement plan. And I have some concerns. I think one of the biggest ways to improve our schools is to keep our teachers in the classrooms and teach instead of getting substitutes all the time. And so therefore, I'm questioning some of the programs that we are now doing. For example, the Talent Ed, the TTAC, and also the Advanced Ed. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think every time I turn around, the teachers are telling me they're up at the central office for a meeting, up at the central office for a workshop, you know, and that's fine and dandy, but it's during school hours. And on top of that, we have lost from our budgets, which we budgeted for 3,180 students. We're already down to 3,145. We're a month or 2 months into the school year, so therefore we're going to be losing a lot of money here eventually. But anyway, I'll start with the Talent Ed, which I honestly don't know much about. And Mr. Carter, you may want to update me on this a little bit, because I'm just saying, I just heard a lot of teachers saying that, you know, they could spend more time with their students if they wouldn't have to spend so much time on Talent Ed. And that's coming from teachers. And I've talked to 20 or 30 teachers and 4 or 5 principals. In the TTAC program, it seems like we're pulling out 3, 4, 5, 6 people to school. And, you know, to me, if you do that, if you have 10 schools and you're paying substitutes for just 3 of them, it's costing $1,600 per session in substitutes. You know, and if they have 3 or 4 sessions a month, you know, that adds up to a whole lot of money. The other program is, and of course, Kyle knows a lot about this program more than I do, but the Advanced Ed, or the Southern Association. You know, we're having to do, and I wouldn't care to be a part of the Southern Association if we didn't have to do that daggum self-study every 4 years, which takes up more time than anything in the world. And then we bring in these people from out of town, and we wine and dine them, pick them up in limos, fly them in here, put them in motels, and so forth. We have to pay $7,000 a year to be in the association, plus we spend $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year for the review. Over a 4-year period, that's about $40,000 or $50,000. So that's why I'm bringing these programs up. And, you know, so are these programs, and another thing about the Advanced Ed, it's not, you know, we have Virginia State accreditation, and from what I can read, you know, Virginia State education is in the top 10 year in, year out. I don't understand why we need another accreditation in the Advanced Ed. And to me, it's just money that, especially this time, that we don't have what we're spending. The other 2 programs, like I said, I read a little bit about the TTAC program. I understand it's for students with disabilities. But from what I understand also, that it's geared towards, this is what I read on the internet, towards elementary programs and not high school programs. And we're doing it, I assume, from what I've talked to the teachers and principals, K through 12. Is that correct?
We are. Let me start back, I guess, with Talent Ed. The Talent Ed is a program that we're used for actually completing our teacher evaluations, principal evaluations, and all evaluations are through Talent Ed. We really don't have a choice in participating in Talent Ed. I mean, it's basically a requirement from the state with the new teacher evaluation. So that's just the program that's used to do those evaluations. Of course, that's the program that the principals use when they go in the classrooms to do, you know, observations, final evaluation, and et cetera. So that really, I don't think, you know, we can say that we have a choice with Talent Ed. With TTAC, that's kind of the program that we're using to initiate our school improvement. And we really, you know, we've had 6 schools last year that were and school improvement. Actually, 4 of them came out this year. We had 4 elementary schools, and certainly want to congratulate those schools and those principals that came out. But T-TAC used to be basically for just what you read on the internet for special ed, but special ed is now moving toward inclusion, and T-TAC is actually working with not only special ed students, but with regular ed as well. So that program has changed. I mean, I think from probably what you've read.
How much is that program costing us, and is it required?
It's free. It's paid for through it's actually through a sub-grant of the Department of Education.
But we're still going to pay for substitutes?
If we pull a teacher that requires a sub out, we would have to, but we're doing very little, I think. Very little of that.
Well, you've convinced me on the town ed, although I will, for the record, tell you that I do not like the principal and teacher evaluation programs. I said that before because I think it gives the principal too much power. But anyway, that's beside the point. All right, what about the advanced ed?
Well, the advanced ed is a board choice. I mean, if you want to continue to be accredited by advanced ed, I mean, we've got to go through the review. Of course, as I've told the board before, our review is scheduled for February the 15th through the 18th, and we're certainly making preparations now to do that. Of course, I mean, I'm not here trying to tell you that it's not a lot of work, because it is going to be a lot of work. We've got principals here that can tell you that it's a lot of work, but it is, it's a national accreditation that the school system has, but it is a lot of work. And
Above and beyond what we're having to do already.
yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we drop advanced ed if we don't need it.
I'll second. Just for discussion.
I'd like to know a little bit, I'm really ignorant as to what the full scope is of what you're asking. I'd like, can we table that and look at it? At least I'm not really familiar with what you're asking. Pardon?
It's not on the agenda to begin with. I think Mr. Twig needs to do a little more study about advanced education and what it means for our school system. And the way the program is set up now, it's not that much work except for some people in the central office. All the data that they use is already in place, and that expense you're talking about only occurs every 5 years, except for the yearly amount for dues that you pay. And every school west of Roanoke is taking part in it, so I don't think that we should be the only school west of Roanoke that's not going to participate in it.
Well, do we have to do the review?
You have to do a review if you want to be accredited.
Our accreditation expires at the end of this year, and in order to continue in accreditation, we have to go through the review. The accreditation expires June 30th. If we don't go through the review prior to that, we will not be accredited to advanced ed. That's correct.
You mentioned earlier that there were some areas that we may not meet, like class size and some other things.
Well, there was a information packet that I did place on your agenda, I guess probably 3 or 4 months ago, that does exceed the State Department of Education requirements, and some of those are class size, and some of them are, one of the others I remember off the top of my head is the requirement for the number of hours if we use clock hours instead of days to meet the school year requirement. It increases with middle, or it starts out in elementary, I think 900, maybe middle school 990, and then for high school it's over 1100, which our whole school system would have to, meet that requirement if we were counting clock hours.
So we would have to, in order to be accredited, we would have to possibly change things to meet their criteria?
Well, yes, I mean, we have to meet SAC standards if we're going to be accredited by them.
Mr. Williams?
You gotta realize that people in my district, well, there's a man in here that's got a casket waiting for him any day. And I don't even have any idea what you're talking about on some of this. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I don't know what you're talking about. However, I want one thing very clear. I'll be for anything that saves the school board money, that doesn't hurt the school system in any way, and I'll be for anything that keeps the teachers out of some of these meetings that they're having to go to. We get complaints all the time, and we complain about the teachers not teaching, but we also then, every time that something comes up that they can teach, we've got them at a meeting or something or other they're going to. If we can save money, one day I want to get some school buses, but I don't know that I could rightfully vote one way or the other right now, because I would be sitting here making a vote for something I have listened to here for a few minutes. And these things were just not around when I was in the school system, and I don't know what they are. But I am for what Mr. Twigg said there to start with. I am for saving money and cutting some of this out. I don't think that we follow the guidelines too particularly of the Southern Association, if that's what advanced ed is there with them. I could name you some things, particularly in athletics, that we overlook every day. So I don't know that. My personal opinion is I'd like to have a little bit more discussion. I don't want to drop it, if you're asking me that. I don't want to drop it now. If the vote goes 3 the other way, but I think I need to know something more about it. I want to follow up on it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like to know a little bit more about what we're talking about. Mr. Carter, if you could give us some information before the next school board meeting. Mr. Twigg, we table this
Yes,
until
sir.
we meet again.
I can do that. As a matter of fact, in the packet about 3 months ago, I had some information there. I'll get it back out.
Okay, thank you.
So I have.
Thank you, Michael. Jesse?
First, I'd like to congratulate Head Start on their beginning their 50-year celebration. Also, congratulations and wish him luck, John Boss. I'm also, given our soggy weather conditions lately, I'm wondering, particularly the roof at Pennington Middle and some of our other roofs, how they're standing up with the weather.
Well, the Pennington Middle roof, of course, Mr. Houndshell's here and can give you an update as of, I guess, Friday, but it's almost complete on the main building, and there's we're down to very few leaks unless something has changed today, Mr. Houndshell, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's about complete.
Okay. Two more things, Mr. Chair. First off, just a suggestion that the school board maybe send a letter of support to the Virginia Department of Health about the hospital.
We already have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, thank you. And I'm for whatever to allow the teachers time to teach. That's the most important thing, and we need to be doing whatever, and I know there are more requirements that teachers are having to jump through, but I think it's extremely important that teachers be allowed time to teach. Thank you.
Michelle. Heard a couple of comments here about teachers being allowed to have time to teach. That's good, but the teachers need to know what to teach when they're in the classroom, and without going to professional development and having these meetings that the central office is trying to do to be sure that our teachers have the same professional development as everybody else does in the state of Virginia. It requires going to meetings. If you come up with a better way than doing that, that's fine, but they get very valuable information in these meetings, or we wouldn't be doing them. So I think they need the time to teach. They need to know what they want to teach, and they get a lot of very helpful information from these meetings. That's all.
Mr. Williams?
I don't think I have anything. I apologize for being done. That's all I can say there. But I just never went through this. That tic-tac-toe or whatever you were talking about there, I have no idea what that is.
Can you strike that, David?
No,
Can you?
no.
Would you read this?
could use my brother's comment, I feel strongly both ways on that, Mr. Herbert.
Okay, I move that we go into executive session to consider personnel section 2.2, 3711A1, student matters section 2.2, 3711A2, and pending and threatened litigation, and 2.2, 3711A7 of the Code of Virginia.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.